Hello, welcome. As we study elite Black history, Black people in history have always discovered ways to solve a problem, and that's how they became inventors. And we have thousands of Black people who actually filed for their patents throughout history, from Granville T. Woods to Anna Mangum, who created the pastry fork, and even Garrett Morgan, who created the perm. And of course, I've left links for you for all of those down below. Black people have always been on the cutting edge of finding solutions to problems. And so today's lecture is going to be very interesting because we're going to meet Marie Van Brittain Brown, and she was the inventor of the closed circuit home security system. Now, her husband also is credited for this as well. His name was Albert Jr., and so we definitely want to credit him for his work in this endeavor as well. So I want to welcome you to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I'm Lady TrenettWilson, your lecturer and social historian. I want to thank everybody. Hi, Royalers. Thanks so much for joining me. And of course, I'll always want to thank my new subscribers and visitors for dropping by. Listen, why don't you hit that subscribe button? We talk about some wonderful Black history around here, and it's so needed. Marie, most people have never heard of her, and she's so hidden in history like so many of our great people. So definitely keep stopping by. Now, Marie and Albert, they filed for the patent on August the 1st, 1966, under their home security system utilizing television surveillance. So it took 3 years for it to be approved, and it was approved on December the 2nd, 1969. And she was actually interviewed by the New York Times on December the 9th, 1969. Now, the couple created this technology to address the problem in Queens. And there's not a lot about the history. We know that at least that Marie was born in Jamaica, Queens in 1922. So they both were lifelong Jamaica Queens residences, and they were seeing the problems around their home. You see, she was a nurse and he was an electrician technician. And she always, according to reports, she was always kind of inclined electrical wise. She liked to work on things, fixing things. And so that capacity for her was there. And then with her husband being a technician, he was able to come on in and put the pieces and making all the doodly dads work. So together they made an awesome team. That's an idea for husbands and wives today. Work together and not apart to build your legacy. And that's what they did. Now, being that he was an electrician and she was a nurse, the couple, they worked different hours. And they would come home sometime late at night, sometime early in the morning, and crime was on the rise there in Jamaica, Queens. And they did not, have enough police, or either the police weren't responding in time to address the issues that they were facing. So they could be coming home from work, get to their house, somebody knocking on their door. They don't know who it is. They don't have any peepholes. They can only look out a window if they have one in the front of the house. So it wasn't working. So she began to work on an idea. Now, surveillance had already been, of course, invented. This was the 1960s, so of course it was invented. But all of the components needed to come together in order to create a home system were not in place. So they hadn't brought it all together. And that's why hers was different from anyone else's. So she took the time and began to work on it. Now, oh, by the way, her and Albert were married in the 40s, and they had two children. I didn't want to leave their family discussion. One was named Norma, and one was named Albert Jr. And Norma also became an inventor and a nurse as well. She's credited with 10 inventions. So if for parents who think that your children don't watch you, they absolutely do. And so I wanted to say that before we left. So the technology that she created and her and Albert created had kind of like four components to it that it had. And it was, I wouldn't say, well, I would say complex, but the way she made it simple. Number one, She put 3 peepholes in the door, and that would gauge how tall or short a person was. So can you imagine going to the door looking at either 1, 2, or 3? So that was number 1. Number 2, it had a slide camera on the outside of the door that would catch all of the movement that was happening outside. So that was another thing that was there. Number 3, it had a two-way microphone. So when the person buzzed the door, they could talk back and forth and they could listen. Number 4, it had a remote switch to lock and unlock the door. Come on. 1966, a black woman and her husband, a black man working together to create this. This is absolutely beautiful. Number 5, it also had a button to notify the police if there was danger. So the couple applied for it and they were approved. Even the New York Times covered the story. There was just one problem with this wonderful invention that went on to really change the world. It was cited in 38 applications for patents as of July 2024. So that's how, um, you know, really revolutionary this idea of hers was. But the problem with it was is that it was expensive to make. It would cost in the 60s about $1,000 per home. And she couldn't get any security companies or businesses to partner in her with her to create this on a mass scale. And so that was why you don't know about this woman. It's because she wasn't able to get it to the level that you see it today. That is in almost every home, that you can get it for inexpensive. And so that is why it never went really anywhere. And in media, it kind of died down. She did a couple of stories, but she never really got the recognition that she truly deserved for it. They even set it up in their house, but she didn't. Miss Brown passed 30 years after the invention was created, and she passed in her beloved home in Queens. She passed on October the 2nd, 1999, and she never again received the recognition, but she was paid. Her family had amassed $600,000 in savings. So her work that she was doing as a nurse and her husband, those things, fueled her home, but those ideas kept flowing. Again, her daughter became an inventor and invented some things. So I wanted to make sure that I did this video today on the 4th of July, Day of Liberation, another day to show you that Black people have been doing things that liberated people for a long time. And if you go to sleep at night under the protection of a home security system, give old Miss Marie a little wink with your eye, because she is the one who created and brought all the pieces together in order for you to be safe. And she also created the closed circuit TV. So I think she would be a great, how the kids dress up. She'd be a great subject for that, as well as a great movie. I'm always talking about movies. So that is something also that. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. And as always, therefore, entertainment and educational purposes only. And the Fair Act use is in my description and in effect. Now, my resources were blackpass.org. I had to go a lot of different places just to even find out a little bit of information about this wonderful woman. They just did not keep a lot of information on her. I also went to her article in the New York Times, and I also went to Princeton University to find out some information about her. So I want to thank you all for joining me. Keep learning, by clicking down below. We've got some great videos, especially those other inventors that I was also talking about. And I want to thank you for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. Thanks for hitting like, share, and subscribe, and hit the comment down below. Do you have a home security system? Did you ever hear about this woman? I think we need to get the word out. So share. Again, thank you for joining me and have a wonderful day.